Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel. This is episode 4 of the Oatmeal Uprising Podcast. This episode is going to delve into fitness and my personal journey and my experiences with fitness and health in general. We are going to talk very candidly about exactly why someone should be into fitness, about their motivations, about the way to go about things in general, how to get started with things, how to get started with the gym, how to get started with running, how to get started with other activities into fitness, how to get started into activities adjacent to fitness and like make it a part of your life more or less. Like full disclosure, I'm like a person who is completely obsessed with this particular part of my life. One would even say that I don't really have a life outside it, but I'm quite okay with that. We'll be talking about being okay with a lot of things. We'll be talking about the mental aspect of fitness quite a lot. We'll be getting into a little bit of my personal journeys about some things that motivate me. I'll be linking resources down in the description section about podcasts that I have been listening to, about people that I have been following, about the ways that I got started into fitness, about the resources that I refer to create my own programs, to progress in ways that I want to progress, to achieving goals that I set out to, how to set out goals as well. So we'll be talking here and there about a bit of detail. Getting back into housekeeping, for the first 3 episodes, it was quite easy to churn them out. I had the ideas going on in my head, I had the outline of the story written. But for this particular episode, I tried a bunch of times, but I just could not get an outline written about it. This topic is so close to my heart that it's the same as Arrival is for me. The first time I wanted to talk about Arrival, it took me about 3 years to write about it. And finally, when I wrote it, it came out to be an 18-minute long article on Medium, and I was not able to do any justice to it. But I still had to put it out because I loved it that much. So I love this topic so much that I have to talk about it as candidly as possible. I don't really have, I may have some takeaways for you, but this is more for me than it has ever been about anyone else. So we'll be getting started with the topic. I will get into one by one. Maybe I'll split this up into chapters. I don't actually know how this is going to go. Maybe the editing would be smoother, but the recording is scaring me quite a bit, to be frank, because I'm just talking. This is just me talking to my shampoo bottles once more, okay? And there is no subject to address to. This is perspectives. This is just perspectives drawn out. All right. So without further ado, let's start with this podcast. This podcast is titled as Getting the Ball Rolling. Because what we want to do, what we want to achieve at the end of this podcast, hopefully, is get a little bit more people into fitness, get people started into this particular life, which I cherish. And I will get into the reasons of why I cherish these things. Okay. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to first talk about how it feels to be in the gym. I got started with the gym about 7.5 years ago. It was June of 2018 when I got started with the gym. Now it is 2026 right now where I'm recording this episode. It has been quite a while, right? I started as quite a very overweight guy. I was morbidly obese. I was 143 kilos, and then I came down to a particular weight. I came down to a weight of 66 kilos. I had lost about more than half my body weight, right? It's like 77 kgs that I had lost. And then I came back up, I built muscle, I put on some more body fat to gain more strength. But that part aside, the whole journey that I went through from 2018 to 2026 is something that I wanted to talk about, not just on my own personal perspective. I don't really want to just start churning out personal anecdotes into this story. What I want to talk about most is how the gym feels to me. I'll go with this feeling, okay? This particular last week was one of my strongest weeks in the gym. And I will tell you a few aspects of it that was concerning to me. So for the entirety of December, I had been on a very, very nice bulk. Now, bulking feels quite great. Actually, you are eating in a surplus of calories. Bulking is basically increasing your body fat percentage in order to increase your muscular strength. And now the way muscle grows is that it needs water, it needs amino acids which you get from protein in your food, and it needs energy. It needs these three things to grow. When muscle grows, usually strength grows alongside it. Now, there is a bit of nuance to this topic, but in general, if you're speaking, this would be the way to describe how the muscle actually grows. So, there are a lot of debates on how important and how huge of a calorie surplus you should be in order to gain strength or to gain muscle. But what I wanted to achieve, strictly on my perspective, I'm an individual who has always been against this idea of being in a huge calorie surplus and then ruining your appetite, ruining your gut health, ruining your physique, so to say, to gain a very small percentage of muscle faster. Does not seem The trade-off does not seem worth it. But I do not want to make blanket statements without going through a particular journey. So I went on this very small journey. I gained, so my walking around weight is usually between 79 to 82 kgs, depending on the day, depending on the amount of water content, depending on the amount of carbohydrates in my system. So that is my walking around weight. So if you take 82 as the baseline, I had gained about 6 kilos. So 6 kilos is a lot of weight, right? And to gain that in 1 month was not quite challenging, to be honest, because my body really wants to eat. And I love that part. I was on a donut binge almost every day. Krispy Kreme and that the other thing. I don't even know the name of it. Mad over donuts, right? That was the one that was my go-to options for increasing carbs in my diet and very easily getting through to this bulk. So I gained about 6 kgs and I got to the strongest point that I have ever been. I just wanted to break through some plateaus that I had been stuck in for quite a while. So it wasn't just to get stronger in bench, deadlift, and squat. It was just to break through that mental platitude and that mental plateau that I had achieved to. So, for instance, walking out a weight when you are squatting, it is difficult when the weight is quite heavy. So, if my personal best before was, I believe it was 125 kg squat when I was doing consistently squatting in a program. But I would never just wake up. I would prepare very vigorously for that particular set. I would not just go to the gym and then unrack that weight and put it on my back. That weight bends steel, okay? So you can imagine what it will do to your back. And yeah, it isn't like, comparatively speaking, I have friends who have lifted 200 kilos. So comparatively speaking, I'm nowhere near them. But my main competition, my primary competition is myself for now. I just want to break through my own plateaus. So getting back to the topic, this particular past week I broke through two particular plateaus and I wanted to talk about how this one particularly feels to me. So one was one of my favorite exercises, which is the low incline dumbbell press. So I was stuck on the 30 kg dumbbells for quite a long time, okay? So every time that I would go to the gym, whether I'm prepared or not prepared, the 30 kg dumbbells they always seem like a daunting task. It isn't quite zeros or one whether I get this weight up or not. It's just getting into that position. I don't know whether that particular day, whether my preparation was enough to actually get that weight up. I know once I get the weight up, I can do the reps, but I just don't go to the gym and then just put the weight on my knees and then kick it up and then just start pressing the weight. I'm not that particularly strong. So this particular week, when I have been in that much of a calorie surplus, I had that confidence within me that I could go without any amount of abject preparation and break through that particular plateau. So after 3 years of doing 30 kg dumbbells, I was able to get the 35 kg dumbbells up. And the only thing that went into my mind at that particular time was the 0 and 1 of it. Either I get this weight up or I don't. It doesn't bother me if I don't get this weight up. I've never gotten this weight up. I could chalk it up to a lot of things. I could analyze it later on. But I knew not a lot was going on in my mind at that particular point of time. It was the weight on my lap, and it was whether I'll be able to kick it up, whether I'll be able to press it, whether I'll be able to put it back, whether I tear my chest or not. That was the only thing that was going through my mind. I didn't have spotters there, which I don't usually recommend to people. You should have spotters in place when you're going for PRs that you have never actually attempted before. But this particular day, I felt quite good. I felt quite strong, and I was able to just go in, kick the dumbbells, and I tell you this, I didn't know whether the dumbbell will come up, right? But the left pec was not able to lift it for a while, and it was quite a struggle to get that weight up. But I did get it up. That sounds wrong, but I'm still talking about the bench press. I did get the weight up. It was one of the best lifts I had in a long time. And I realized, I didn't realize it. I would say that may not be the correct statement to use, but I got reminded of what this particular things mean to me. I think it is trained by JP Jordan Peters that said, when you have that weight in your hand, when you are underneath that particular stress of wanting to progress in something, not a lot goes through your mind. A lot of the life that you live around, it is put to the side, because that weight, your determination and your drive to do something is the only thing that matters at that particular point of time. And that is the mindset that I wanted to talk about when we get into fitness. We have so much going on in our lives. You can take the world as the utopia of optimism, or you can go via the realistic or a pessimistic route. You would be burdened by an enormous amount of self-doubt and a lot of emotions that go on outside the life in the gym. But when that weight comes into picture, when it is time to do that set, a switch flips. And I'm in love with that feeling. That is the feeling that I keep on chasing every time that I go to the gym. I want that switch to just flick. I want to change modes. I want to not be the person that I am outside the gym. I want to be the person that I am while I'm doing that set. Because that person has only one thing. It is tunnel vision. It's focus. Not a lot is going on at that time. Okay. So that is the first aspect of fitness that I wanted to talk about. Okay. The mindset of fitness. I don't know if that helps at all, or I was just rambling, but it was quite. It is very difficult to actually explain how that feels. Okay. One more thing that I would say. Let's say I'm in a program. Okay, in a hypothetical situation, I would say I'm in a continuous fitness program. I want to lift a particular weight in a particular week. Now that is my job right now. I have to do it. Something hinges on that. I have to get this weight up. This is the thing that goes through my mind. So if I have to break a particular strength plateau, if I have to do something that I've never done before, that novel stimulus is going to create that novel adaptation in my body and make me progress at something. And that progression is so important to me in that particular phase of that program, that not having that is going to feel incredibly annoying. Until I do that same particular lift or attempt the same thing again, it's not going to be out of my mind. So I never want to feel that ever. Okay. That is not a feeling you ever want to feel. That you don't want to feel that failure. So you want to get into that zone where you tell your brain that you are in this environment, you have done enough, you have done with your sleep enough, you have done with your nutrition enough, you have done with your hydration enough, you have checked every box to get to the point of progression. That progression is something that feels amazing. Genuinely, that it feels quite amazing. Okay. So with that, the mindset of fitness was the first part that I wanted to talk about. The second part I wanted to talk about was how to actually get started into fitness. So having to get started into fitness, right? One thing that is quite important is having a goal. Now, goals can be a variety of things. The basic goals that people usually go to the gym or to any particular fitness activity is First, it's either losing weight, it's gaining strength, it's getting better at the activity, or it's fighting boredom, it's wanting to be entertained. Okay, these are the main particular reasons people get into a particular activity. I'm strictly speaking about the gym in this particular sense. You go to the gym because you see it as a way to change and improve your life. Now, if you see in a purely medical way, and if you see, for example, something that Dr. Peter Attia attributed to in his book, The Four Horsemen, I think that book was called Four Horsemen of Fitness or Four Pillars of Fitness, something like that. I'm not sure. I don't actually remember the name of the book, but what was hypothesized is there is a medicine 2.0 where you go to a doctor when you are already suffering from an ailment. The doctor diagnoses you, the doctor tries to fix you more or less. That comes after you are already suffering from an ailment. Medicine 3.0, which he hypothesized, is a way to actually improve your life in a way that you don't need cure. It's preventative medicine. You want to be as healthy as possible, to have as high a quality of life as possible, and need as little amount of medical interventions as possible to achieve that. Now, he attributed a lot of ways to achieve that. Okay, I'm not going to delve into an entire aspect of health. Maybe someday I'll go through my blood work and then we can analyze together how one particular parameter looks in relation to the other, or how the trend has been looking. But for now, for example, you have nothing else in your life. What you have right now is food, you have your water, and you have your own personal body to exercise. That is all the three resources you have. So, how would you get started into fitness? I would say the first thing is to have a goal in your mind. Why do you want to do this? Do you want to do this because you want to be healthy? That's an amazing reason. That's a really amazing reason. You want to be healthy, you are getting into fitness. You choose a particular set of activity. WHO recommends 150 minutes of cardiovascular activity a week. That does not involve walking. Okay, it's zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 means your heart rate is elevated. I think the number was 120 beats per minute. 120 to 150 is zone 2. Beyond that, 120 to 150 or 160 is zone 2. Beyond that is zone 3 cardio. So you want your heart rate to be sufficiently elevated for 150 minutes per week. That averages out to, whatever, if you take 7 days as a week, I would say usually people do 6 days or 5 days. So it is like 30 minutes a day for 6 days of the week. And that is enough for most people to maintain their general health. Is do 30 minutes of activity per day, 6 days a week, or do 1 hour of activity 3 days a week, something like that. Your combination, you decide. You want your heart is a very important muscle to train. You want your heart to be as healthy as possible. So in that way, 150 minutes of cardio is more than enough for someone looking to improve their health. What they can do is they can jog for 30 minutes a day for 6 days a week. They can be on the cycle, they can be on the elliptical, they can do circuit workouts, they can do strength training. Technically does not attribute its place in cardio, but there is a form of endurance training that you can inculcate if you wish to, if all the other forms of cardio are quite boring to you. But I would say like a dedicated form of cardio, like something like a sport, basketball, football, whatever. I'm not a good enough sportsman to just tell the names of more sports than that. I don't think I even know beyond 5 sports. But that is other thing. My focus has always been on running and the gym, so I didn't really feel the need to go through any other avenues to improve my cardiovascular abilities, right? That is the recommendation by WHO. You do 150 minutes of cardio a week. That improves your health. The second thing is vanity. Maybe you want to look better. When you want to look better, like the easiest thing to do would be either to, if you are very skinny, gain weight, gain muscle, look substantially normal. Okay, if you are very overweight, morbidly obese like I was, you get lean enough, You change the way you look. That way, you can dress better, clothes fit better. In general, you feel better and you look better. That vanity is as good a reason as any, according to me. I don't think there is anything wrong with being vain about the way you look. We spend so much time right now online. We spend time interacting with people. We want them to like the way we look. But most importantly, we want ourselves to like the way we look. When you look into the mirror, you want to be okay with your reflection. You don't want to think that constantly, I need to improve this, I need to look like that. I wish there was something I could do. I wish I had a longer nose. I wish I had a shorter nose. Maybe you can't fix that without surgical interventions, but your weight, your muscle mass, that is the thing you can actually fix by exercising, by your diet, and by your sleep. So, vanity is as good a reason as any. Then there is a competitive spirit. You want to be good at something. You want to be good at lifting weights because you want to be a power lifter. Great. Good a reason as any. You want to be good at your physique because you want to be a part of some kind of a pageant. You are into pageantry. Again, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it is an art form, developing your physique in a way. I think it has been an art form since ancient Greece, more or less. Yeah, that could be one of the reasons. So the main focus of this part is just finding why you want to be here. And I would say, out of all things, okay, there is 1,000 activities people would be recommending you. Let's say get into the gym. Okay, you can train your heart to be healthy. Okay, it is awesome. Your heart is healthy. You can move around. Great, right? But this particular muscle strength and muscle mass, it makes life easier in ways that are not really visible to us every day. For example, you have increased muscle mass. You can eat more. Muscle at rest burns more calories than the rest of tissues in your body. It has its own particular effect on your on the rate of calorie burn. So you get to stay leaner in that way. When you stay leaner, your heart is healthier. On a general basis, like there is a law of diminishing returns there as well. But in general, when you're leaner, your heart is better. So muscle keeps you leaner. Strength muscle is good in keeping you limber. Now that may seem very contraindicated, because when people think of gym, they think of very rigid movements, and they think that people are going to become rigid in the way their body moves. Like you do a bicep curl and you can't move your elbows completely, you can't flex your elbows. That's not really the case. If you do things right, if you do all the movements right, you need very rarely any kind of mobility training to actually have a good enough mobility. Like for example, I used to do no mobility trainings, but I could still do a complete sideways split, because I trained as deep as possible in my squats. I did Bulgarian split squats while my knees would touch the actual floor. So I would say when you're doing things right, it is very rarely that you need some other kind of specificity training to be nimble. And being nimble, I don't think it is kind of very self-explanatory that being nimble helps the quality of your life. All right. So that is the main reason I want more people to be in the gym. And one more reason, which may be a selfish reason, but this community is gym community. I have found to be more the actual people who have been in the gym and tried to work on themselves, have tried to progress. This particular community will not judge you. It is going to embrace you. There is no gatekeeping in this area. Everyone I know is a gateway to this area. They want you to work out, alongside them. They want to feel good that other people are pushing as hard as they are. Okay. Yeah, so I would say that is a very important aspect as well. The social aspect of lifting is as important as the functional aspect of it, as important as the health aspect of it. All right. So now we'll go to the third topic. Now, on how exactly your gym workouts are supposed to be scheduled. So, how do you progress from being a beginner in the gym to, let's say, an intermediate. I consider myself as an intermediate, so I won't go beyond the level of that. I think I can't call myself a beginner yet, even though I do feel like a beginner at times. I can't call myself a beginner because the time has passed for that. It's been 7.5 years since I've been doing this. And I'm quite proud of that number, to be honest. My goal is to be fit for as long as I have been unfit, at least, and that is going to take me 19 years to, not 19 more years, 19 years in total to get to that goal. So I am shy, of 11 and a half years to achieve that goal. But yeah, that is the journey I'm on. Getting back to it though, how to structure your workouts from getting from beginner level to an intermediate level, right? So we'll get through that topic now. So, as a beginner, what you have to do? Well, firstly, what you have to do is get a gym membership. Well, easiest barrier to entry. I would say you can get started with home workouts, but communities motivate you. Okay, it's you need someone. I think there's a lot of people who can do things themselves. I did things myself. Okay, even though I was in the gym, I was working out alone. I did a lot of things myself, but I think community is the easiest barrier to entry. If you have someone with you, it is going to feel awesome. Okay, the journey feels worth it as long as there is someone alongside you on the same journey or a similar journey, or their own journeys and you're just doing it together. It's valuable. Its value is quite understated these days, but to me, it's a very valuable thing to have. So I would say get a gym membership, value the community that you will get in the gym. And now, once you get a gym membership, I would say structuring 3 days a week of strength training is enough for almost every beginner. You could train every muscle once a week. It's not something I would usually recommend to beginners because when you're a beginner, you want to be good at the technique of lifting. You don't want to get injured, of course. You want to do this as long as possible, and injury prevention is quite important an aspect of that. So you want to train the same things as often as possible so you get good at it faster. Once you get started into the gym, the very first phase of this gym life is going to cause a lot of progress very fast. So I think not milking that particular amount of progression is such a shame. You are going to be very susceptible to progress. Okay, a child who first gets started into the gym is always susceptible to progress. But at the same time, even an adult who has not worked out their entire life and they just get started into fitness, they're going to be very susceptible to gains. You know, so get on that gain train. I would say the first workout split that you should have should be full body 3 times a week. So let's say your week is from Monday to Friday, which is a typical work week for most people. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you want to do full body workouts. Okay. What you want to do is keep 2 of the days very similar to each other. All 3 days are going to be similar. Okay. They're going to be 1 or 2 exercises that are different. So all beginners should mostly focus on the three main compound lifts are going to be in the workout. You are going to try to do squat, bench, and deadlift. Now, cliches are a cliche for a reason because they work. All these three movements awesomely work. Okay, so the deadlift is a very, very good movement for increasing your overall strength. The way your body moves in lifting a hard weight. Deadlift is that exercise. It's not a particular targeted muscle building exercise. It is a neurological drive building exercise. So once your neurological strength is developed to that particular extent that you can move that particular weight, that is going to bleed into all the other exercises you do. Okay, so you want to structure your workout in a way that 3 days a week you are training your full body. When you are a beginner, you need more volume as well. So what volume is the amount of muscle work that a muscle is going to do in that particular session or that particular week. So if you look at it like in a bird's eye view, If you take a bird's eye view of your body, there's six particular group of muscles that you usually train. You train your legs as a single particular unit. You train your chest. You train your shoulders. You train your back. You train your biceps and you train your triceps. Or you group them together and call them arms. Okay, so five muscle group, let's say. Okay, you get started with, let's say you're doing full body workouts, right? So the first day of the week, if you are a top heavy person, then you start with a leg exercise as your first exercise. If you are a bottom heavy person, you start as an upper body exercise as your first exercise. If you, whatever you are weak at, is basically the first thing you are supposed to start at, and that is something everyone is aware of. Okay, when you are walking, if your legs get tired out fast, you know your legs are weak. Okay, when you are if you are good at pulling a door instead of pushing it, if you actually that is something that most people don't even notice. But if you carefully observe at your own patterns, you usually prefer one of those two things. You either like to push a door handle or to pull it. For instance, me, I have always liked to pull more than I had liked to push. So in that way, I knew that my back was always a preference for me. So that means I can't train my back first. It was always going to be ahead. That is something I always liked. So doing the things that you don't like is quite important to develop them faster. To develop them first, give them the actual amount of resources, the accrued resources. The accrued resources would mean just food, it would mean protein, it would mean water. Give them the resources to grow faster, okay, to make progress faster. So so let's say 3 days a week, full body workout. Your first day is going to look like something like compound movements for every big muscle. So you're going to do a squat for your legs, you're going to do a bench press for your chest, and you're going to do a back movement, something like a bent over row or a machine row. If you're a beginner, a machine row is always going to be superior to a bent over row. You don't know exactly how a contraction in your latimus dorsi muscle feels. You won't know exactly how quad contraction feels. So for every exercise as a beginner, a machine is going to work much better for you, because a machine moves from A to B. It forces your body to move in a particular pattern. So you don't have to think about the mind muscle connection right now. That comes later on. So I would say every beginner should get into doing machine based movements alongside at least one compound movement a day in their workout session. So if you're doing every machine workout for the upper body on Monday, you do one compound exercise like a squat. Okay. You do your bench press on Wednesday, everything else is going to be a machine. So you got good at one compound exercise for your neurological drive, for actually achieving something. So for actually getting yourself to the point where you are strict with something. Because compound movements require you to hone in that skill. It's a skill. So you're supposed to hone in that particular skill. So you're doing that one compound movement every day. So let's say squat came on Monday, bench came on Wednesday, and deadlifts came on Friday. You are good at one compound movement, and for most beginners, it is going to be enough. Once you get intermediate, that is what the progression from beginner to intermediate looks like to me. You get good at doing the easy stuff as a beginner. You get stronger, you get healthier, you get muscular. And as you progress more to the intermediate stage, you start doing more and more hard things. So you progress from doing a machine lat pull down to let's say this particular movement. You get good at doing pull-ups. Pull-ups is harder than doing a lat pull down. Chin-ups is harder than doing a lat pull down. So that is what a progression is going to look like from a beginner to an intermediate. You get good at doing harder and harder things. So when I'm saying this, I'm going to link down a bunch of videos in the description. I think Trained by JP is an amazing resource. I have a playlist made of his particular videos. I'll be linking that playlist down in the description section for this particular progression for a beginner workout. For an intermediate, the splits that I do recommend usually is going to be upper lower, rest upper lower. That is training your body each muscle twice a week. Okay. And now the 4 day pattern of upper lower rest upper lower in the week is quite good for most people, is because it still gets it still lets you live your life outside. Okay, fitness is an important part of life, but most people in the world are not going to invest that amount of time and energy into fitness because they don't have that luxury of time. Not everyone can just go and be a bodybuilder and for 24/7 just live this particular life. It's hard to do that. It does not interest a lot of people. That is a reality we have to live in. At the same time, we are supposed to earn money as well so that we can facilitate this life, right? So you are going to need something that is feasible to do. So this 4 day workout split, it seems to me quite a bit of feasible thing to do. So you do upper lower rest, you do upper lower. You do something very similar, you do as many compound movements as possible, because now almost you could be an intermediate, let's say, or you are transitioning from a beginner to an intermediate. You are capable of doing hard things. Okay, forget about going through the mesocycles and all. When you were a beginner, you tried to hone in on the technique, you got good at the technique. Now that you are an intermediate, the time comes to start pushing things. Now, pushing things mean going to that extent where you have never been before. Doing something your body has never done before. If you were on the bench press last week, you did 60 kgs for 5 reps, you want to get that 6th rep in the next session. It's quite important that you push yourself to do that. And it's quite important you push yourself to a point where you can't do another rep anymore. Now there is a very particular distinction that you need to know about. There is a distinction of discomfort and failure. Failure is quite different than discomfort. When lactic acid builds up in a muscle, it becomes sore and it becomes difficult to train. It becomes quite difficult to train with that amount of lactic acid in your muscle because it is painful, right? It is always going to be that painful when you are actually training with lactic acid in your muscle. That is not failure. Failure means you can't do another rep. You physically can't do another rep. And getting to that point is hard. It's not easy. It takes years to do that. I don't think within the first 4 years I ever achieved true failure. The first time I remember achieving true failure was when I actually fell down on the floor and could not breathe and I had to go away and vomit after doing a set of squats. Then I realized, yeah, my muscle could not do another rep. Not technically speaking, I was speaking physically. It could not do another rep. There is technicality to your reps where your reps look that damaged that you are not able to do another rep, but there is a physicality to it where you physically, like if there was a gun to your head and someone said, you do this or I'll shoot, you still couldn't do it. That is what physical failure is. So when you get to that intermediate stage and when you're transitioning to that advanced stage, that is the particular feeling which you want to achieve in every particular session. You want to go as close to your limit as possible. It is going to be difficult. Okay, you should hear people who have actually been there talk about it. You should hear Branch Warren talk about it. You should hear Kevin Lavroni talk about it. You should hear Fuad Abiyat talk about it. These are professional bodybuilders and they know what the feeling feels like. It's a surreal feeling. I'm not gonna lie, it feels awesome to push yourself to that extent. But that is your main goal as an intermediate. You want to push yourself to that extent, and at the same time, you want to recover from that. Muscle only builds when it has the 3 essential components we talked about. It has water, it has calories, and it has energy. Now, if the energy is going into repairing the damage that you did last time, it does not have enough energy to build anything new. So you want to make sure you do get recovered enough from your workouts. That progression is coming. You keep on doing more. Because at the end of the day, it is always going to be a novel stimulus that creates a novel adaptation. Something new that the muscle has never done before. That particular novelty that is introduced is going to create a similar adaptation in your body, which responds in a way that you actually grow, you achieve that particular muscle gain that you are looking for. So that is the particular thing you are wanting to do as an intermediate. So once again, as I said, I will be linking down resources in the description. These are the particular channels that I have followed from the very beginning. I would link every one of my favorite YouTubers below. The ones who have complexities, ones who have nuances, and ones who simplify things to the easiest extent. Okay. And for mindset, I would say I am also going to link one of my playlists, which is one of my favorite playlists, which I listen to. It's quite important that I listen to that particular one because it's important to get hyped up to do something that you have never done before. When you've never done something before, you've never been under a weight before, you have to hone in yourself. And it's not easy. You have to get into that particular mindset that I have to do this. Because you are going to be mad at yourself if you don't. And that is how fitness looks like for me in general, I guess. I am going to end this episode here, but I don't think fitness is a conversation that is ever going to end. There is so much more I want to talk about. I want to talk more about running. I want to talk about my exact journey, about how I went through that particular point. I want to talk about what I'm currently doing. I'm currently on a cut. I just have hypothesized how much cardio I'm supposed to do. This video is going to be so long. It is going to be about a 45-minute to an hour long podcast. And I'm going to put out, and this would take me, I don't know, this would take about 4 to 5 hours to render. And it's going to take some time to chop this up into an article and write that article about it. At the end of the day, that was the goal of the podcast. This is going to be long enough conversation where you get to take something away from it. You want to know how you ended up working out. So at the end of the podcast, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to give a few workout plans that I had generated, which I think which would come with, of course, guidelines on how to train. So I'll be linking a beginner workout plan, an intermediate workout plan. I can't do an advanced workout plan because I am not a special, I don't have any specializations. I have zero credentials to back up my name. The only thing I do have is the limited amount of experience that I have personally on going through the gym. One more thing that I wanted to say, you can follow a lot of people on the internet, okay? They will tell you they have these credentials. They will tell you that they have achieved certain things. It's easy when you are good at something to get better at it, okay? I would say it's very hard when you started at a point where you were really bad at something and then you got even average at it. It's the amount of progression a person achieves, I would say, is something that lends them credibility. Credentials were never what credibility was. So I would say when you listen to people, don't just listen to credentials. Don't just assign them credibility on the basis of assigning them credibility. Think about how far they have come. Look at their experiences. Experiences do count, okay? Now, a research person would tell you that anecdotal evidence does not have a lot of value. Okay, fine. It does not count that much in science. You take it for what it is, okay? But anecdotal evidence of someone who has struggled to do something, who can show you that they have struggled and they have come from a place where they had to make a tremendous amount of change to get somewhere. Now that is something I would personally consider that as real credibility in this world. I would just not consider normal credentials as credibility. You can always go down a rabbit hole in that particular case, but I would say it's quite important you understand who you are listening to. Even me, okay? There is no real particular reason that anyone has to listen to me. I'm just going to be rambling on. I'm just going to be uploading podcasts. It doesn't matter if people listen to me or not. It's just a way for me to talk. Okay. So I'm going to do this whether there is a listener or not, but it is quite important if there is a listener that you actually figure out who to listen to. We all need mentors, but a good mentor can make or break our particular regimen. Okay, so this is quite important that you listen to that. All right. So this has been Episode 4 of the Oatmeal Uprising Podcast. Get the ball rolling, get started with the gym. I would say build up momentum as much as possible in your particular life. This particular aspect of being in the gym and being into fitness is going to bleed into every aspect of your life, and there is at no particular point you will be regretting doing anything that keeps you healthy. Absolutely no one that I have known has regretted any sacrifices that they have made for their fitness. Sacrifice without regret, even that's a hostile copyright. I'm not going to make that mine, but Fuad was absolutely right. When you're sacrificing, you are supposed to have no regrets because you will never regret it. Getting into health and fitness, even overdoing fitness is better than underdoing it, I would say. So that is the thought I'm going to leave you with. So this has been episode 4 of the Oatmeal Uprising Podcast. I am Rishi and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.